All right, hello, and it's silverkyle, and welcome to my pickups for the month of January 2024, the first month of the new year. And I started off with a bang with quite a few things here, but I only have one video game, one omnibus, because there wasn't really a lot that was coming out that interested me or that I didn't already have, and then a ton of books. So while I might be lacking in video games and omnibus, I certainly made up for in books. So let's go over the first video game here. That being Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on the PlayStation 5. This literally just came out and I got it a day early with Amazon. So I'm one of the first few that has an unboxing for this. I'm very happy about that. And this is kind of like a Tales game, third-person action JRPG that I am very much looking forward to. I'm going to be trying this out tonight for the first time around. So, and I've only heard good things about that. So very much looking forward to that. Now let's get into the books, and let's start off with a 2024 release. So this was published this year, just came out 2 weeks ago, I believe, and that is Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham. I've already finished reading this, and it was okay. Kind of lukewarm to be starting off the 2024 new books with this. I have enjoyed Stacey Willingham's work before with All the Dangerous Things, I think is the one that she had, and I like that one a lot more. This one, the setting and the characters weren't exactly what I was looking for, but by no means not necessarily a bad novel, just not great either. I will do a full review of this in the next few days here coming up. Now let's get into some more exciting things that I will be reading the majority of this stuff actually within the next month. I plan on actually, or within the next few months, a lot of this stuff will be looked at anyway. Let's start off with The Fall by Ryan Cahill. I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, but he's got a series out, and you can either start with the first actual book or go with this short novella. I think it's like under 100 pages. You can either go with this book or this novella or the first novel, either or. I think I'm going to dive into this one first within the next 2 months is when I'm planning to start it. So very much looking forward to this. This is kind of something that happens right before the first book, and it's like a battle that happens like hundreds of years ago, and they talk about it in the first book. So I'm going to kind of see what happens in that big war. Then we've got The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This is book one of a series that's getting the third book, and I think it is just going to be a trilogy. And I think the third book does come out in the month of March. That's when I'm going to start this. So this is the Burning series, I believe. And I've never read anything from this author, so I'm definitely looking forward to trying that out and seeing how it fares. Then we've got this book I have just literally started, rereading it again, and that is The Great Hunt. I don't have them anywhere here, but I have the massive paperbacks for these, for the Wheel of Time. That's just a lot easier to read, but I want every one of these books in hardcover because I absolutely love this series, and I've read this book before and I love it. So I'm really curious to see how I'm going to feel about it during my reread. Also, another thing that I've gotten recently is I've gotten these plastic sleeves for all my hardcovers, and they are immaculate. They are so awesome. It makes it a little bit more, the glare kind of pops up in the videos, but on the shelf, they're going to look a lot nicer. They're protected a lot easier now. I'm very happy with this. Then we've got The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This is going to be a series. The sequel to this is coming out within the next few months as well. I won't be picking up the sequel until I've read this book, and then I think I have this planned for either March or April to start reading this book. So once I get to that point, and if I like it, I think then the sequel I might read in July. Unless I absolutely love it and I need to put it at the top, then that could happen as well. All right, let's dive into some more books here. This is the first. Actually, I thought that this was the first Witcher book. I don't think it is. I can't remember which one's the first one. Is it The Last Witch? The Last Wish. Sorry. I don't know why I thought that this was the first one, but I went to a bookstore with one of my friends because he was wanting to pick up a bunch of books, specifically The Will of the Many, and it wasn't there. And while I was there, I was looking at stuff, and I was like, well, I kind of have everything that I need. And I looked at The Witcher, and I was like, I do need to start reading that series. And I thought this was the first one, but it's not. I did look afterwards, and The Last Wish is the first one. So That's okay. I have the third book in the series. Hopefully I like the series, but I'll definitely pick up The Last Witch at some point in time. I'm not planning to read The Witcher until at least 2025 though. So that's going to be a while before I dive into that. Finally have a copy of Dracula. I have had different copies of this when I was a kid. I feel like I had an illustrated version of Dracula that I read. There was a bunch of like illustrated books from, I think, in the 90s or I think it was the 90s, that had a bunch of the classics kind of redone in these illustrated versions where there wasn't nearly as much writing, but it was a condensed version of these that you could read for like kids or teenagers. And so I definitely remember reading Dracula then, so I know what happens in the story, but it'll be nice to read the actual Bram Stoker Dracula, and that I am planning to read in October. One that I'm going to be reading at some point this month, hopefully, and that is Dune. Because I do want to watch the Dune Part 2 movie, and I haven't seen the first one. I wish like maybe the first half hour I was like, I'm interested in this, but I want to read the book first. So I'm going to dive into this and see how I like it. And this is a very nice, beautiful edition for this book. And the last book that I picked up, is a massive hardcover, and it's a really old book. Like it's dinged up. I don't know if you can see how dinged up, because I mean the plastic kind of protects it, but it's very old. I mean, that gives you a better indication of what kind of condition this is in. But I've started watching the Bosch TV show on, I think it's Prime, and I was really enjoying it. I watched season 1 and I was like, if I enjoyed that much, maybe let's dive into the actual books. And I've heard of Michael Connelly before. Like he also does the Lincoln Lawyer, I believe, series. So I wanted to read the first Bosch novel, and I couldn't find a hardcover. I don't even know if there is an actual first edition hardcover of it. There might be. I was just, when I was looking, I found one that had the first Harry Bosch novels, including Black Echo, which is the first book, then Black Ice, and The Concrete Blonde. So 3 books in one. It's hardcover. I'll take it. Better than not having any version of it. I don't know when I'm going to try to read that though. Most likely it's going to be next year. If I can find some time in my schedule, all of a sudden, then I might dive into it. And last but not least, the only omnibus for the month, but a big one for me because it was a glaring omission in my SpiderMan collection and my omnibus collection in my point of view anyway. And that is SpiderMan Clone Saga Volume 1. I am so close to having a complete, amazing Spider-Man run that has been released so far. Once I get Volume 2, I have everything from Amazing Spider-Man that has been released in omnibus format. I'm so excited to finally have that. I wish we could start clearing up some of those gaps from the early on. Like a Volume 6 would be great. Kind of just start fixing up some of those areas where we're lacking. We're getting a Mark Bagley one though, and that I can't wait for. Like that's going to be the holy grail of omnibus for me, because the Mark Bagley era, in terms of the look of everything, that's when I was collecting myself as a kid, but it's also that is the best look of Spider-Man outside of maybe John Romita Sr. Jr. And I know that's like crazy. It's like most people are kind of put off by John Romita Jr. for his Spider-Man run. I think a lot more people liked his earlier stuff, like from X-Men, perhaps. And I like it, just not as much as his Spider-Man, because I grew up with that. It was Mark Bagley, and then I remember a lot of John Romita Jr. So it's just the area that you grew up in, and when that's normal to you, it becomes your favorite kind of, and it has the nostalgia factor too. So I really like it. And yeah, that's about it. That's everything that I picked up in the month of January. Let me know in the comments below what you picked up in January and what you're looking forward to the most in February. Thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in. Beardage.